First conviction secured in Libor rigging scandal. Thank you for joining us for another Bank of Cardiff newscast. The 7-year investigation of the rate rigging scandal that caused global outrage has resulted in its inaugural conviction. A jail sentence of 14 years has been handed down to former city trader Tom Hayes after becoming the first to be found guilty by a jury of rigging the Libor interest rate. Hayes, previously a UBS and Citigroup derivatives trader, was convicted of 8 counts of conspiracy to defraud at London's Southwark Crown Court. The trial, which began in London in May, has so far resulted in 21 people facing charges, and some of the world's most influential banks and brokerages being required to make around $9 billion worth of regulatory settlements. Hayes was the alleged ringleader in a complex conspiracy to fix the London Interbank Offered Rate, or Libor, in the years between 2006 and 2010. It's estimated that around $300 trillion of contracts are based on Libor, setting borrowing rates for businesses and consumers all over the world. Britain's Serious Fraud Office, or SFO, argued that Hayes had set up a network of brokers and traders in 10 prominent financial institutions and persuaded them to help manipulate the rates that are designed to represent the cost of interbank borrowing. Hayes would then place huge bets on financial markets that were sensitive to Libor moves. The former trader, who has recently been diagnosed with mild Asperger's syndrome, said he was open about his attempts to influence rates and that his managers were aware of his actions. Hayes claimed he was taking part in an industry-wide practice in a market that was subject to little regulation. In his defense, he argued that he received no training and that his request for rate levels fell within a permissible range. However, this mitigation didn't find favor with the jury, who rejected his defense and found him guilty on all 8 counts. The fact that others were involved in the same activities wasn't accepted as reasonable justification for committing the fraud, and Hayes was sentenced to 9.5 years for each of the first 4 offenses, plus 4.5 years for each of the second 4 to run concurrently. The judge, Mr. Justice Cook, commented, "The conduct involved here is to be marked out as dishonest and wrong, and a message sent to the world of banking accordingly. The reputation of Libor is important to the city as a financial sector and the banking institutions of the city. Probity and honesty is essential, as is trust. The Libor activity of which you played a leading part put all that in jeopardy." Well, upon his arrest in December 2012, Hayes told SFO investigators that his trades had earned £150 million for UBS over a 3-year period. He claimed he originally confessed to misconduct in 2013 after being frozen with fear that he would be extradited to America, where US prosecutors were ready to charge him on 3 counts of conspiracy to fraud, each one carrying a much higher sentencing tariff than in the UK. Well, it's likely he'll serve half of the sentence before being released on license. In a post-trial statement, the SFO said the jury was sure that in his admitted manipulation of Libor, Hayes was indeed dishonest. The verdicts underline the point that bankers are subject to the same standards of honesty as the rest of us. This brings to an end one strand of the SFO's continuing Libor investigation. Another 12 individuals await their trial, of which one has already pleaded guilty. Join us later this week for another Bank of Cardiff newscast. And remember that all of our newscasts are available on our website, bankofcardiff.com/newscasts.